Jingle. If you close your up or your shoe bust up, you could still jump up when music plays. Old lady, young baby, everybody, but jingle, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah.
Loving the vibes, Louis.
Huh?
Loving the vibes.
Loving the vibes. Loving the vibes. Dingole. My Trinidad friend them should know what that is.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Caribbean Diaspora Vibes, a special edition tonight. You know, as you can see, despite our category 4, 5, what are we, 3, 4, 5 within that range?
We're still there. Hey, amen.
Florida pretty much is under hurricane watch. So, you know, where do you go? Do you and then we have to be careful because the last hurricane, Georgia, all the states that are close to us, you know, they got impacted severely, if not more than us. So it's not easy to just run when you say you're you know, leaving the state with family, etc. However, we are in the middle. We are in Central Florida, so we're not on the coast. Those individuals that's been on the Tampa coastal area, you know, a lot of people have evacuated. So that's where we stand. So we're watching, we're standing by. We have our hurricane, everything. Start eat off the food already. So that's where we're at, because, you know, you try to stay calm, you try to not, you know, stress out about it too, but you still have to prepare, check in on elderly and so forth, those with special needs. But at first, you know, I was going to cancel it, the Tonight Show, and I'm like, no, we can still do this. Nothing is coming our way till tomorrow. Yeah, so we're good. We can still honor our warriors, or, you know, survivors. So that's where we're at. So thank you for joining us. We have we have a total of 5 individuals to celebrate. 2 we're still waiting. So we're going to go ahead and get started and welcome you all. So my name is Donna Morgan. I am the president of Caribbean American Diaspora, president of Women of Culture Incorporated, real estate broker and mindset coach with Inner Vibes Consultant. And Louis, I'll turn it over to you so you can do your station ID, and I'm going to go ahead and try to stream us on to the other stations.
All right, so I want to welcome everyone this evening to Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network. We are live this evening, and welcome to Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. And we want to welcome all our panelists, lovely ladies. It's good to see you all. And of course, welcome to this segment of our show today. As Donna said, it's hurricane time going on. And, you know, Donna, we spend the day today giving out emergency information, trying to get everybody aware of what's going on across the state. And of course, giving, we also help out with transporting information and goods and services, delivery, food and grocery to people who are in need. And so we just want to continue to do that. And we will be here tomorrow to do the same thing up until around maybe 2 or so. We'll be closing down and broadcasting from the house. If the internet, as long as the internet up, we're there same way. That's bottom. Right. So welcome everybody.
So we have someone that is just, let me just tell her how to get on. We have one of our guests trying to get on. Oh, Lord. Let me just give her the instruction.
So all our listeners across the world, welcome, welcome, welcome in Central Florida. We hope you stay safe. This is another edition of Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. Welcome all.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started as our other guests try to get on. We just wanted to, we want to take the time to thank a few of our global partners from the Bahamas. Karen, it's Jean Dean, GD, Karen Sharon Cancer Support Group. We have Guyana Cancer Foundation, and we have Reach to Recovery for Jamaica. And we have another organization, and I'm looking at the flyer right now, and it's not very clear, from Trinidad. We'll come back to that. And so we do this by reaching out and tapping into these organizations throughout the Caribbean. And each year, we've been doing this since 2020, under Women of Culture Incorporated, right? I decided to kind of merge so that save me some time and energy, and so I'm not all over the place. So we're merging Women of Cultures, Still We Rise After Cancer with Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. And so these partners every year have reached out and they've nominated a male or female with various types of cancer so that we can recognize. And this year we have 5 amazing women, and all have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so we're going to hear from our very first breast cancer survivor, and that's going to be from Mariah Pradia. And she actually is heritage from the USVI and lives here in the US in Georgia. So we're going to hear from Mariah first. And we also call her Chef Mariah because she can do some breed cooking. And she'll have to come on another time to give us all the tips. She's a big time chef, celebrity chef, etc., all of that. So Mariah, if you can unmute, are you at a place where you can stop, or do you want me to go to somebody else so you can park and be safe? Because right now you're muted. Yes, so we'll go ahead and give her a second. Let me check on my other guest that was, we want you to be safe. So what we can do, Mariah, I can go to our first guest, and then we'll come back to you. Like, that'll give you a chance to be settled. Yeah, okay, because we want to make sure you're okay. Driving in Atlanta too is not easy. So we're gonna go ahead then, and we're gonna start out with our warrior or breast cancer survivor out of the Bahamas, the beautiful Bahamas, Miss Sheila Smith. So each person is going to have like 10 minutes, and they're just going to share with us their journey, when they got diagnosed, what they've been doing, any tips that anyone right now that maybe recently diagnosed, what kind of tips can you give them? Share your story. We always try to do basically turning your pain into a purpose. And it's so courageous for you all to come on and share your personal story with us so that someone else can benefit from your journey. So we give thanks for that. So we'll start with Sheila out of the Bahamas.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Sheila, how are you?
Awesome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
I'm a little under the weather, and everyone is buffering right now, so I don't know what's going on with the internet.
Oh, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, it could be my internet.
Yes.
We do have some challenges along the way. However, this is all about my journey and breast cancer. It has been quite a ride. I am happy to say that it has been 24 years and counting. It was in 2000 that I got the shocking news. It was a simple mammogram that I was asked to do by my doctor, who was a very dear friend. And it was really surreal because I was only about 34 and breast cancer was not even on the radar. In fact, I did not even know anyone that had breast cancer. So when I went to do the mammogram, it was okay. So I was told to do a mammogram. And by the way, I asked him, why am I doing a mammogram? I thought we did mammograms at 40. He said, no, 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 not in my practice.
Mhm.
So I said, well, I'm going on a cruise. And so at the end of the cruise, I will just do exactly what you say. You want me to do it in Florida? That's where I will do it. So I did that. And lo and behold, during the mammogram, they said, you have a lump. And I was like, a lump? Because I then decided to feel myself a lump. I don't feel a lump. Well, we see a lump, and therefore you need to see a doctor who is on site. So we did that, and the doctor then said, yes, there is a lump. And would you feel right here? And it was after the doctor examined me and felt it that I felt it. And it really felt like a basketball. Of course, it was only about the size of a quarter, but it felt like a basketball at that stage because I had never felt a lump in a breast. So I said, oh my gosh, it really is a lump. My mind then told me, it's fine. There's nothing wrong. It's a lump. I've heard about lumps. Didn't know anyone with breast cancer, but I did know people who had lumps. So I was then asked to do the biopsy, and the biopsy was the following day. So I stayed over in Florida to do a biopsy, did the biopsy, and then was told to leave. I'll get results in about a week. In about a week, I got a call from my doctor friend, and he said, I need you to come over. And we being so close, I knew that if it was good news, he would tell me right away on the phone. That was like a no. I said, okay, so it's not good news, but it can't be that bad. Went to his apartment actually to get the news, and we sat on the patio, and vividly I recall my instant reaction to the news. He said, I have your report, and it's not very good. I said, okay, just go ahead and read it. So he read the report. I said, wow. I said, anyway, what do I do next? Right away. It's like, what do I do next? We got to do something. So he said, you're going to need surgery. Now, I must say that in hindsight, I should have delayed these prompt decisions, but I did not. I was just on a roller coaster. It was like, let's do this, let's do this. And so I asked him to call the surgeon and arrange for me to see the surgeon. And he did that right away. And I drove from his apartment directly to the surgeon. Once I got there, I just asked him, so when do you want to do surgery? He looked at me and he said, are you serious? I said, yes, I'm quite serious. I was told I have to do surgery. When do I do surgery? He said, I think you need to discuss it with your husband first. I said, okay, what am I discussing? I need to do surgery. And so I'm going to do the surgery. That was when it hit me real hard. I had to say, you know what? Excuse me, I'll be right back. I went into the washroom and I prayed. I prayed and I cried. And then I dried my tears, walked back in his office, and said, could you call and see what the schedule is like for me to do the surgery? He did that. And a week later, I was prepping for surgery. Now, I felt like I should have delayed the decisions a bit, but I did not. And so after I got a report from the surgery, my brother found out that I had breast cancer and called me. We spoke on the phone. He said, "Why didn't you call me? I have a friend in Canada who could have given you some other advice. Anyway, go ahead and send me the report." I did that. And I got a report back that said I should not have done the surgery, but I should have gotten a second opinion. By then, of course, it was too late. It was over. So I had the surgery. And after the surgery, once I had healed, I was told by the surgeon to go to an oncologist in Nassau to do chemotherapy. Now that one really, the surgery, chemo were okay. But when I heard chemotherapy, it was another ball game. So I went to see the oncologist, and he was very chatty and very upbeat, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be going to work after your chemo. You're not going to have any real serious side effects. That was also good news. However, I at that moment said, "By the way, I'd like to see where you do the chemotherapy." So he said, "I don't do it here. It's done at the hospital." So I looked around and I was like, "No, you don't do it here?" Because it was really nice atmosphere. He said, "No." I said, "Okay. Where exactly?" I drove from there to the hospital. But when I opened the door, they were closed, but I knocked and someone came and unlocked the door. I did not even go inside, to be honest with you. I stood at the door, I looked in, and I saw red. And I'm not talking about I got upset or anything like that. I actually saw red. Red to me was just a little bit too much. I stood back. I'm like, I don't want to see red. I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable. So I left. They called my doctor, who's, like I said, was a friend, and he said to me, he said, "But Sheila, what were you doing there?" He said, "I've already arranged for you to have chemotherapy in the US." I said, "I'm sorry, I missed that. I guess my mind is just going so fast." So I did not go back to the oncologist. I went to the US as he directed. And once I got there, I was told point blank, there is no avoiding the side effects you will have because you're young and the form of cancer you have is aggressive, and we do not play with cancer. We give one big punch. We do not give a few because we don't give cancer a chance. So that was like completely different. I just started seeing myself walking around the bald head. But I was scheduled for 3 rounds of aggressive chemotherapy. And once I had done the first one, I said, "Yeah, I can handle this. This is a breeze. I'm going to be fine." However, the second one was a different story. I was doing chemo every 3 weeks. By the second chemo, of course, my hair fell out. I said, "Okay, I'm going to deal with that one. That's okay." However, I ended up uh, losing my appetite big time. And so I actually went for a few days without eating anything, and I was really sick. My oncologist in the US told me afterwards I should have called right away and they would have made the adjustments, but I just did not have the mindset to call. So when I went back for the third chemo, we had a serious conversation and she downgraded the chemo a bit. And I was fine after that. Now, the whole idea of being without hair was quite traumatizing. And I never really looked at my head without hair for about 3 months. I just couldn't look in the mirror and look at it. I kept it covered with a scarf or covered with a wig all during that time. The interaction with my two girls was very scary. I actually sat down with them after just before the first chemo, and they looked just a little puzzled, but it went okay. The journey after the third chemo was not so bad because very quickly my hair started to come back, and I always like short hair, so that was not a problem losing the hair. But as I think my real challenge at the diagnosis was, oh my gosh, I am just preparing to start a new business.
Right.
This has happened. Am I going to get through this or not? But my oldest daughter decided to take over the business, and she ran with the business until I was on my feet again. I was not so sick. It was just that, just going out there and facing the public, because I was in the airline business. So facing the public, looking what I call a bit, you lose weight and you just don't look well. And so, and that's probably because I was not facing the mirror too much. That was the biggest thing. So facing the public was a problem. But my daughter ran with the business, and now I've been in business since 2000, and the business is growing slowly. I really say to everyone who gets a diagnosis, such as breast cancer, any type of cancer, is to, first of all, get a second opinion. Always get a second opinion. And remember that your prayers are going to be answered. Amen. In one way or another. Your prayers Amen. Will be answered.
Amen.
Yes, the whole idea of survival starts in the mind as far as I'm concerned. That's where it starts. You have to be prepared to go the whole 9 yards. You start off and you go the whole 9 yards. Read, because I don't feel there's any doctor that knows everything. So you have to take charge of your health and your journey, because it's all about you. Everyone has a different experience. And so my experience is not going to be yours. No matter what, they will not be identical. Right. However, we all have something to share. We all have information to share. So do not hide your condition. Talk about it. But there are so many people out there, and sometimes the neighbor actually is recovering from breast cancer. You don't know. Right. In the Bahamas, we have a sheltered community. People are not really prepared to fully discuss their situation, and that is fine. But at least let people know what your situation is. Details are not required. The people I speak to now, when they want to share their story, I'm willing to accept. If they want to share 25%, that's fine. 10%, that's fine. You don't have to share everything, but at least, say, it's okay to say, I have been diagnosed with breast cancer. Sometimes that's all you need to say. Right. And from there, your support team steps in and help you out. It's not a death sentence. It's not a death sentence. And so many people are afraid that it is. But I've known people who've survived even longer than I have. And I always say, you know what? I'd probably get run over by a car before I die from breast cancer, because that's how common traffic accidents are. But I stand by what I said when I said it's very, very important to actually get the second opinion. Yeah, and have the right mindset. All right. That's basically it about my journey. I hope I have not taken too much of your time.
Thank you so much. I love the tips. Get the second opinion, right? Because a lot of times we just go with the first. Get the second opinion. Mindset is important. So thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sheila,
Thank
out of the
you.
Bahamas. Appreciate that. We're gonna move on. We're gonna go to Mariah, representing USVI and US. Welcome, Mariah.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for your patience. I was driving. So, but thanks for a word about my safety. I'm Shamaraya Pradia. I am a 10-year breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at 33. In addition to breast cancer, I also live with systemic lupus. I have a family history of breast cancer. My mom was diagnosed young, so I started getting mammograms at the age of 29. I was diagnosed, and in my household, I had 3 young children, all boys. So that was a challenge for me with that. Unlike Miss Sheila, my breast cancer diagnosis was not found on a mammogram. It actually was found on me with a self-check, and it was the size of a jelly bean. And I complained about the differences in my breast. I felt like I was lactating. I couldn't explain it. So I went to the doctor. I said, I found this. What can we do? They told me that I needed to come in and have a biopsy. I came in to have the biopsy. Upon coming in to have the biopsy, they would not biopsy me. They said that I was African American female. We have cystic breasts. We have a lot of fatty tissue in our breasts, and they just feel like it's some type of cyst. I had to advocate that day on the table and tell them I'm here, biopsy me. It got so bad that I actually had to call in the clinic manager to tell them I said to biopsy me. So I got the biopsy. A week later, I was told that I had breast cancer. It was like stage 2, that I needed to go and get treatment. I had my cancer treatment started at the Naval Hospital in Jacksonville. Then it went to the cancer treatment centers of North Florida because I lived in Jacksonville. We did those procedures. I had the double mastectomy. I didn't understand why I was having a double mastectomy. Upon them giving me the double mastectomy, they told me that it had spread through the lymph nodes. I had inductal invasive carcinoma. Then they did the frozen section. During the surgery, they told me they got all the cancer. A month later, upon getting ready to have chemo, they told me the cancer spread to my lymph nodes. So I had to have a surgery to remove the cancer cells from the lymph nodes and then have chemo. So I went through all those different changes. Was supposed to have 8 rounds of chemo. My body couldn't handle it, so I had 5. This was back in 2014. So I had 5 rounds of chemo, dealt with 3 bats of C. diff, all kind of different things, you name it. I had reconstructive surgery. Upon having the reconstructive surgery, with me having lupus, my body rejected the implants 6 times, and the 7th surgery was after 6th surgery. I said, well, surgery number 5, I said I didn't want to have any reconstruction anymore. Surgery number 6, they removed the implants. Surgery 7, they removed the extra skin. So I'm a flatty. So I am the opposite. I decided to be flat. I didn't want to be reconstructed anymore. I dealt with different changes that my body went through due to having chemo, and I am a double hip replacement because of chemotherapy. And so it was a different journey for me. I was also very young, but 10 years surviving by the grace of God. And I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to share my story. And I just want to tell everyone, please advocate for yourselves, because for us Caribbeans, African Americans, brown people, they do not listen to us. Our bodies does not respond the same way as everybody else's body. If someone tells you something, I second getting the second opinion, even though I didn't get a second opinion because it was so invasive. I didn't need that. But for other people, if you need to get second, third, fourth opinion, do what you have to do. If someone doesn't listen the first time, make them listen. I traveled internationally. I did 45 days in Montego Bay, where I went with the chaplain and I worked with the Cancer Society there. And I shared my story. We went to different churches, different hospitals to talk about getting a mammogram and why it's important. Being Caribbean, we are very stubborn people. And sometimes we're worried about what someone is going to say, what they're not going to say, our appearance, what it's going to be, what it's not going to be. And I tell people all the time, you're here, you're alive, you're still standing, and that's what's important. So advocate, advocate, advocate. Get checked. Don't worry about what someone else says. Have a support team. Do not go through this process by yourself. And at the end of the day, join support groups. When you survive and you overcome, share your story and your testimony with someone else because you never know how beneficial it is, how it's going to help someone else. And for someone that's going through breast cancer, seeing someone else survive or seeing someone else go through that process, like me, I'm flat. I have graduated now. I wear padded bras and padded things. But for the first year that I went through it, I wore nothing because I needed to be confident within myself and I needed to know that it's okay. And I needed to be confident in the fact that I am a survivor and it doesn't matter what my body looks like. I'm surviving. I'm alive. I'm here to see my children and to share my testimony with someone else. So that's what I wanted to share today. I thank you guys so much for having me on the panel. And I do have to leave, unfortunately. I have a meeting, so
Yes.
I really appreciate you guys allowing me to share my story and being here today. Thank you.
Love the way you touched on, just even the self-confidence that you had to rebuild in yourself. A lot of times people don't understand all the layers that comes with whether it's the hair, like Sheila mentioned, or removal of breasts and et cetera, things like that. So there's so much that you've gone through that you're experiencing and continue to experience. And sometimes people, and hopefully you have partners that are understanding, because can you imagine, Lois, you're a guy, can you imagine your wife is going through something like on that level? And you know how women are on a regular, so to think about hair, all these things that we,
Yeah.
attach to. So
Yeah. And for me, I have been, when I was going through it, I had my ex-husband, at least my ex-husband now. But for me, fortunately, now that it's 10 years later, now divorced and I date, I don't have anyone coming to me and saying anything, but I have to be transparent. And that's something where I went through that year of learning to love myself and relearn my body and everything else like that. If you don't take the time to do that, then you don't relearn to love yourself. So if you don't relearn to love yourself, then how can someone else love you with these different changes that you go through? So I feel like transparency is key. I didn't really want to touch on the baldness and all that stuff because she talked about that. That's really big for us as women. But the not having breast part and the reconstruction and the different changes and, you know, that you experience is a challenge. But I did have great doctors, and my doctor made a joke and he said, I want you to be aesthetically pleasing as possible. If my wife went through this, I don't want her to walk around with extra skin. So we're going to remove the skin. So I am completely flat. Then I took it upon myself to go tattoo my chest. So I'm just a little bit different. So when I look in the mirror, I have something that I can see that reflects me. My name means kept by God. So on one side it says kept by God, and the other side is a hibiscus flower because that's the Caribbean in me. But it gives me something to look at instead of seeing a scar or seeing something else. Everyone deals with their process differently, but I have been blessed where with dating, I have not ran into anyone that has been negative or disgruntled towards me or rejections or anything like that because of that, because they actually are so like fascinated that I'm still brave enough to even want to pursue and continue in my life. So I hope this helps someone.
Yes.
And
Thank
it's
you
not an easy
so.
process, but you just got to go through it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Do you have a support group or anything like that now, Maria?
No, but when I went through it, I started looking into like Cancer Society, because I'm African American. I try to find African American support groups. I um I joined this thing on Facebook for Flatties, Flatties I can't think of the word exactly for the group, but because I was going flat, I was looking for programs for women that were flat, and trying to figure out how can I be flat, what it looks like, what their journey was being flat. So I look for specific groups just for me. I don't have an active group that I'm with, but I do things. I do participate. I try to do walks. I try to do different things. I try to
Right.
host my own events to raise money for someone else. I know I'm from the Virgin Islands. Our cancer facility was destroyed a few years back when we had those hurricanes back to back. Um, Last time I checked, they were rebuilding it, but they're still flying a lot of people to the mainland, to the States. So the last time I did host something, I wanted to raise money, and I raised money for a young lady that was going through stuff and for her to at least fly to her doctor's appointment. So,
Yeah.
things of the sort. So however we can support each other, we find out something in our community or wherever, that helps. Even if it's a phone call, even if it's a meal, even if it's just a kind word, it all helps.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and for all that you're doing,
Hmm.
turning your pain into a purpose and helping others now, just like you said, with helping for meals or transportation for help. So we give thanks for that and appreciate you. Now we're gonna hear from Sade. And thank you, Mariah. I know you've got to go.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Talk
Yeah.
to you guys later. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. And be blessed.
Mhm.
We're
You
going to
too.
hear from Sade all the way in Trinidad right now.
Hi, good night. Can you
Hey,
guys hear me clearly?
welcome.
Are you guys hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are hearing you. Welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be a part of this initiative and hearing Sheila's and Mariah's story. Wow. It's encouraging to see cancer survivors older than I am surviving, because you always hear these stories about persons having reoccurrences and stuff, and it's always a bit of a fear of mine sometimes. So when I hear people say that they're 10 years surviving and 17 and 25 years, I'm like, yes, we out here and we thriving and we're
I
living,
hope. We got
you
hope.
know. So, my story, well, how I got diagnosed with breast cancer, just like Mariah, it was through a self breast exam. I was going to UTT at the time. That was back in 2018. I was in year two, doing my performing arts degree, and just lying down, and I usually just do a breast exam. Sometimes I'm so tired I just do a kind of little quick thing, and then I felt this lump on my left breast, and it was pretty small, not too large at the time, but I immediately went into panic mode. That week I went to casualty at the hospital, and they referred me to one of the doctors who would have felt the lump, and then they referred me immediately to breast clinic to do a biopsy within those 2 weeks. And when they did the biopsy, now I'm going to school. I live in South Trinidad, so I go to school in Port of Spain. So I did my biopsy and then went to school. Because I am not missing school. This degree was something that I prayed about and asked God if this is something I should do. So I left my job to go and do this full time. So came back when I got the results, probably like a month after I got the results for the biopsy. Things kind of run a little slow with our health system a lot of the times, our health system is overwhelmed. It's a lot of people, so I got the results and they said it's DCIS, so that's basically like grade stage 0 of breast cancer, right? Which means it was detected early. So I was pretty glad about that, in the sense that, okay, it hasn't spread anywhere yet. Then they said they want to do another biopsy to make sure. This kind of took me into 2019, because we were waiting so long for the results, and they did ultrasounds. And when it came back, by that time, probably around January of 2019, around there, the lump had grew to about 6 centimeters or so. So by that time, they said, they confirmed it was DCIS, and they said that the best course of action for me would be to do surgery, a lumpectomy, remove the lump completely, and then do reconstruction at the same time. So my first surgery would have been in 2019, where they did the lumpectomy, and they took my the muscle from the back of my shoulders, where you used to climb with. They took that and did the reconstruction. The surgery itself was successful. The shaved margins, they tested it after the surgery, and the shaved margins came back positive for DCIS. So while I was healing from that, mind you, I did all of this, still went to school, did the surgery, took 2 months off while school is going on, came back after I was healed enough, and they took the drain out, and went back to school in time to get to do exams. And then we were on break, and when I healed from that surgery, they said, well, the DCIS came back positive. The shaved margins came back positive, so I have to go back in to cut again. After they already did a reconstruction that was successful, it kind of almost gave me back the full size of my breast after. That was September of 2019. Went back under the knife. They cut out the shaved margins and then did some more, and that came back positive as well. So by that time, the doctors concluded to say, well, if the shaved margins keep coming back positive, then it's in the different places in my breast. So after that, I was healing from that second surgery. We are in the latter half of 2019. I'm in year 3 now of school. I'm going through all of this, going to school. I didn't really tell a lot of people. I told some of my friends what was going on. And obviously my lecturers would have known, because I would have been absent from time to time. And while I was healing, I personally, I am a person that when I'm going through things, especially where it's physically traumatic and stuff, I just kind of look forward to what's next and try to push past it. I don't know where I got that from. I always say God kind of built in that kind of strength in me, because I was like, I need to get my degree done. I am 28 years old, going on 29, and I this was my last chance to do this degree, because I'm a music teacher now, right? I teach kids music and voice. So when I did that, while I was healing from the second surgery, the breast itself started to swell, and it started to change color. I woke up on Saturday morning just screaming because it was hurting so much. I went to the hospital the Monday, and they sent me to ultrasound. They did an exam. Ultrasound, the technician said that this looks like an abscess. So it could have been probably from, a complication from the surgery or whatever, but, these things are normal. So they sent me down to get it aspirated and everything, and I don't know. Well, we have breast cancer survivors here, so you all know the needles that they use to do these things. It's not as small as they make it sound. They will be like, small needle. Not a small needle, right? In my little breast, and he's literally, poking in there and moving around, because he's stumped at the fact that there's no liquid, there's nothing to drain. He said there's nothing here that is showing as an abscess. while this needle is in my breast still and I am in pain, you know, I pray for the days when they find, painful and invasive ways to do tests for women for cancer, especially breast cancer, because it's such a delicate tissue, you know. He said that they have to go now, they have to do another ultrasound, also do some more tests. By this time, guys, I would have done 2 surgeries, done about 3 biopsies. Biopsies are not fun. I was exhausted. My mother was also exhausted. We went privately. Immediate that same afternoon, we went privately to get another opinion and to get things done faster, to get an answer as to what was going on, because the skin color on my breast was changing. It was like light yellow at this time. So I went to a specialist there at a private medical center, and I think we did all those tests over again, mammograms, biopsies, everything. Cost me about $8,000, and within a week I got all of the tests back, and he sat me and my mom down and my aunt, and we sat down, and he was like, I have stage 3 breast cancer. So I was very, very confused, because just, a year ago we were at stage 0 and we were dealing with it with surgery. So but from the time he saw my breast before I did the test, he was like, he already knows what's happening here, but he has to do the test legally to confirm, So it's stage 3B, and it's an aggressive invasive carcinoma breast cancer that has already spread to 2 of my lymph nodes. And I'm like, I remember specifically my mom, and they were just shocked, and I was just kind of laughing, because I'm like, this is kind of so, I couldn't find a word to describe how I was feeling, so I just started laughing because I was in disbelief. I'm trying to finish school. I'm in my 3rd year, 1 year, because it's a 4-year degree. I was already struggling through the degree in terms of, finances to go to and from school and stuff, and I'm like, Lord, are you serious? This is exactly, I talk to God just like I talk to anybody. So I'm like, seriously? It was so much. And I remember sitting, this is, fast forwarding to when I would have told my friends from school and my lecturers who were pushing for me to take time off from school and deal with me and get better and stuff. And I sat down in a classroom by myself, and I said, God, I said, if you want me to live through this, you have to do it, because I don't have the energy anymore. So the first surgery was very hard on my body. My mother had to take care of me and do everything. I could not get up for myself, walk for myself. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't bathe. And for a grown person to experience being in that kind of situation where you can't do things for yourself, like if you're a baby again, it's really humbling, but it's also extremely depressing. So I didn't want to go through what would have meant chemo, and from what I would have seen from what people advertise about cancer and how people look after chemotherapy. I'm like, I'm not ready to go through that. I don't have energy. And I told God, I said, you have to get me through this, or I'm not doing it. I said, I'll just let it go through its course and say my goodbyes, and then that's it, legit. And so I just remember there, I realized it. I have to fight, because it was just me and my mom living together, and we have mom and daughters, we always argue and we have our things, but my mom and I have a very close relationship. So I know that if I didn't do it, that it would affect her even more than going through it would affect me. So I had to see if I could actually fight this thing, and I feel like in that moment God was just waiting for me to just give the fight to him and get me through it, and that is exactly what he did. I got my diagnosis officially in 2020 at the height of the pandemic in Trinidad.
Wow.
Right? So the way, and I always say this is part of my testimony, God worked things out so much, because he knew in the back of my mind I was very worried about my degree more than this disease. So when I got my diagnosis in February of 2020, about 2 weeks after the government announced that we have to go on lockdown because of COVID. So I didn't have to take any time off from school because everyone was going to school online at home. But all of the clinics shut down. So I'm like, how am I going to, because the doctor, he was very clear. He said I should have started chemo yesterday, right? I am the cancer is growing and heading into stage 4. So I need to start chemo. Because of what was going on, I started chemo around May, June of that year. I did 16 cycles. The first 4 I did was like every 2 weeks. In oncology in Trinidad, we do the red chemotherapy drug that we call Red Dragon there. That's like the strongest. Added with another one that's like 40 minutes every 2 weeks, just to give your body time to recuperate. And then after those 4, I did 12 on a weekly basis. So I would have finished my last chemotherapy session in September of 2020. I did a single left breast mastectomy in November of that same year. And then after I healed from that surgery, I did 15 radiation therapy sessions.
Wow.
And radiation therapy sessions, mind you, are on a daily basis, every day of the week, excluding the weekends. So I'm doing this, going to school online, and I'm doing a performing arts school, so we have to do performances and videotape it.
Wow.
It was the only thing, I'll tell you, it was the only thing that kept my mind off of what I was really going through. And as Sheila said, you see when you start to lose your hair? After the second, it's the same thing, after the second chemotherapy session, my hair started to just come off in clumps. And that's when it kind of set in for me. Oh, okay, I have cancer, for real. I don't know, it was just weird. I mean, women with their hair, it's a significant thing for us, you know, unless you decide to shave off your hair. When you just lose your hair and it's falling off like that, I had to just shave it all off. And in that moment, I mean, we were all inside, we couldn't go outside, so I took the opportunity to go out when I had to go to my sessions and travel from home to the hospital. I took that opportunity to leave my hair, my bald head up, because there was no one outside. Everybody was quarantined inside. So it was my way of trying to start to get accustomed to how I was looking, because I've always struggled with self-esteem. So this would have just been, you know, destroying the cameras back in terms of liking who I am and thinking, because I've always thought that I wasn't always beautiful and stuff like that. So I feel like me getting cancer kind of transformed my life for the better. I'm not saying that everybody should get cancer to get this result, but it could either make or break your life based on how you handle the situation. And I have to reiterate what Sheila said. It's a mental thing. I found so many different ways to deal to take my mind off of it, to share my story, to stay positive. I had an amazing support system. My school, my lecturers, my friends, my family, my church, I'm a praying person. My relationship with God is what got me through every session. I would go to chemo, pray about chemo, and ask God to get me through just this session. And when I went to the session, I would fall asleep. And when I woke up, the nurses became our family, because we couldn't have people inside the oncology suite at that time, obviously. So they would come and check in with you. So they became your sister, your auntie, your mommy. And when I woke up for one of the sessions, I was like, we started. She's like, Shade, you fell asleep and slept through the entire session, and now we're done. You could go home. I felt nothing. I barely went through any side effects. Only when I had to kind of inject myself with platelets, because my platelets would get low. That artificial platelets, that was painful. Like for an hour every day, I was like writhing in pain. But other than that, I experienced, by the grace of God and His blessings, I experienced no side effects whatsoever.
Amen.
And a situation like that, I started to share it on my social media. I called my chemotherapy sessions my Sweet 16, so it's like countdown to, you know, my Sweet 16 to the last one. So that experience kind of changed the trajectory of my life. I was able to graduate magna cum laude at UTT with my bachelor's degree in performing arts with a specialization in music. I have my own business now, Sade's Songbirds. I also was led, God gave me the vision to open a non-profit organization called the All Cancers Group, TT. So we don't just specialize in spreading awareness and helping those with breast cancer, but with all cancers, because I would have lost persons close to me with different types of cancers.
Mhm.
And I feel like what happened to me changed the way that I look at myself and feel about myself, because I have one breast now, and I can tell you, after cutting my breast off, I felt there was a disassociation for some time. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because I was like, I already didn't like how I look now. A piece of me is missing, and it's a part of you that kind of makes you a woman as well too. So I went through, like Mariah said, I went through a season where I had to really kind of just get comfortable with me. I would stand and just look at myself until I felt comfortable and not cry about how I looked, and started to find things to love about the way I looked aesthetically and whatnot. So it was a journey, especially because I'm 33 now. I'm young. I am not able to have kids at the moment because I am also hormone positive, the cancer that I have. So I take Zoladex injections every month that prevents me from having a menstrual cycle, because the hormone that we get from that feeds the cancer. So that's part of my oral treatment now for the next 5 to 10 years, which also, I'm sure some of you all know, gives us these wonderful, wonderful side effects of menopause,
Right.
heat flashes, and listen, I would say, just because I don't want to stay too long. It's part of why I started my organization, to help people adjust, not just going through treatment, but adjusting to life after. Because
Right.
people think that cancer just happens when you go through the invasive treatments and then that's it. But we have to now. I took a very long time just to figure out how to adjust to constantly having heat flashes at the age of 33, getting dressed every morning, and it affects your emotions. Sometimes you're in a good mood and then a heat flash comes on and you're irritated for no reason. You know?
Hey, we're gonna quickly interrupt you. I know Louis
Yes.
has to jump off. We're gonna continue. Louis.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure. Sheila, Mariah, Shade, and I know Latoya coming up. You guys have a great story. God bless you and keep you guys. Do what you continue to do. Love yourself, love others, and continue to work. God bless you all. Donna, we'll check in next week.
All right.
You know, everybody out there, be safe and God bless.
Thank you. Yes, Sade. So it's interesting that you bring up all these facts too that you have to deal with, because if you're not having your cycle, it triggers a whole other boatload of things to deal with. And so and you look at your age, right? So you may have children, or now you're with a partner that's saying, hey, what's going on? Why are you, having these hot flashes like you're 50 something, 60 something?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're able to have an organization to bring those hard topics up, because people don't understand all of that. They just figure, oh, you're done with chemo, radiation, and that's it. They don't think about,
Correct.
those aspects.
I always say that, knowledge is power. So I use my experience and my testimony to share, I'd like you said, to talk about the things that people may find uncomfortable, because it's just a fact of life. It's a situation where I'm always a bit insecure about meeting person, because I'm open to dating, and you have to be open about these things, because that person that's coming into your life, they're going to be experiencing these things with you. So we are about just sharing that information and bringing awareness. I don't agree with not getting yourself screened and tested and all these different things. And some people like to say, well, what you don't know won't hurt you. It can. You know, early detection saves lives. We just recently had our first health fair on Saturday that was so successful. We're really trying to drive and push the envelope on how people see cancer. That it's not death, that there's life, there's things to do. I am living proof of that. I am doing all the things that I've always dreamed to, and more, as God is guiding me. So there is life to have after cancer. So it's a bump in the road, as I say, but you know, you can't get over that bump until you actually, you know, take care of yourself and go get yourself screened and tested regularly, and you know, get as much
Yes.
information as possible. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sade. Do you have a Facebook? Do you have your support group? How is it? Is it
Yes.
Facebook?
Yes, we do have a Facebook and Instagram. It's at the All Cancers Group TT, and you could find everything about what we're doing. We're new, only about less than a year, but we've been having, you know, a lot of interaction with the public so far, and we are hoping to go up from there and to make a lot of impact as much as possible.
Okay, awesome. And I'll get the link also from you later and drop it on the chat. This is being recorded on Facebook, and it's going live right now on Facebook, and we'll record it. So great information for those women that are experiencing those after effects in the case where they can't continue to take you know, and you're having the menopausal early, that's way early, 20, 30 years earlier than usual. So that's a lot more now on the mental health, on the confidence, etc. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for using your pain now into a purpose. Thanks, Sade, all the way from Trinidad. And thank you to
Thank
the
you.
Trinidad organization, one of our partners that referred you to us. We appreciate it. We're gonna wrap up now with Latoya, all the way from Jamaica. Hi, Latoya. You're muted. There you go.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Everybody
Welcome,
hearing me?
welcome. Yeah, man. Welcome, welcome.
All right. So I am actually at our monthly meeting at Jamaica Reach to Recovery. So if you see me walking, I'm trying to get away from the noise. All right. So I am Latoya Jones. I was diagnosed when I was 19, 2002. Yeah, I was diagnosed 2002. It's a rough journey for me, and I am still fighting. As when I found out about the cancer, I had stage 2 breast cancer that spread over the year. When I was diagnosed, doctor told me that I will not be able to have a child. Latoya, very bubbling at 19, you're diagnosed in college. You think that the world stop. I'm like, this was not for me, because I thought that cancer is for old people, not
Right.
young people
Right.
at the time. But I later found out that I have relatives of mine who were diagnosed with breast cancer, prostate cancer, other types of cancer. But my journey is one that is more of a faith, because after I was diagnosed, I went and I have my son. He's 19 years old. Then the cancer, I thought that the cancer was in remission. I thought so. But I later found out that I have never, ever gone into remission. That's what the doctor told me. I've never been into remission. So I was blind. The cancer I had a tumor in the brain. So it's breast cancer that spread throughout my body. So I have one lungs, because one lungs were damaged by the cancer. Then it spread to the brain. I had a brain surgery. I had a tumor in my head the size of an orange. So I had this huge head, because my head gets so big. So I removed that tumor. Then I lost my sight. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, lost my sight. I couldn't hear, because the cancer was just eating me up alive. But my determination and my fight is that I will not give up. So after that, with treatment, so I did a lot of chemotherapy. I did radiotherapy. I did hysterectomy because it spread to the womb, and the cancer eat up the womb. I didn't know that cancer could literally eat somebody like that. So when they remove the remaining parts of the womb, you could literally see where the cancer had tear the womb, different parts of it. But I trust God, because my faith in God, that's what has been keeping me. I am a trained professional teacher. I had to give up my career because of how bad the cancer is. The doctor recommended that I don't stress the brain because they had not catch all of the tumor in the brain.
Right.
So they removed some of it. So I constantly have headache because that's one of the side effects. Then it spread to the liver. When I think that all was well, it spread to the liver. And I have been doing chemotherapy currently on the liver, hoping that it will disappear shortly because I have faith and I believe in God and know that it will. But for me, as a young person, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I believe that people need to get screened. They need to be aware because early detection counts. How I found out that I had cancer was I was young. I had a lump in my breast and I used to suck my big tummy and I thought it was fun sucking the finger and peel up the lump. Didn't know because nobody told me that I need to go and get the lump checked. But then I went to my bed one night and when I woke up, the breast was swollen and fluid was coming from it. A friend of mine rushed me to the hospital, immediate biopsy. The doctor just look at it and say, immediate biopsy. Most times in Jamaica, to get a biopsy needle, you have to be going there, running around to get a biopsy needle. I got that needle that same night. The doctor just look at me and say, she needs a needle, urgent. And so when I found out, I was shocked. And I realized that I had to get out of what I was going through quickly. Because if I don't come back to reality, I guarantee I wouldn't be here today sharing with you my journey as a survivor. And so, because it's a Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I would encourage all the females and male, because, male get breast cancer as well, to get screened. Get screened. And don't wait until it's too bad, because right now I have secondary breast cancer, stage 4 secondary breast cancer. And look at me, thriving and surviving and just living. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Blessings, blessings, blessings. You all have been through just so much. May God continue to bless and cover you and protect you and lift you up so much. But still you rise. That's our theme. Still you rise after cancer, after the hair loss, after the removal of the breast, after the multiple, surgeries. But God. Thank you all for sharing your testimony with us tonight. And we hope that someone that's listening, because it's not always easy to hear, that diagnosis. You all have just broken it down on the levels that sometimes just a denial, and you're like, what? And I'm so young, and how is this happening? But you picked yourself up, you have your support, and you continued on. And we thank you for the tips that you shared on so many levels, on the mindset, on the getting second opinion, on the life after diagnosis or after radiation, after chemo. What do you have to deal with now? Not just having the removal of the breast, for example, but now you're thrown in 20 years younger, into menopause, you're having hot flashes, and you're 30 something. These are all real life situations. And it's important to have a support group for, can you imagine a woman that is not, and it seems like you all at one point, you had to figure it out too, and then maybe got connected with a support group. But may God bless you. May God bless you for your journey and being able to be strong enough, despite all that, to come on here and to share. Turning your pain into a purpose is one of the hardest things to do. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody answered our call to come on tonight when they were invited. They may not be ready. They may not be strong enough. So we give thanks for that. So with that, we're going to end our show. We are in Florida, so we've got lots more preparing to do for Hurricane Milton and finalize with family. I did not want to cancel the show because it was important to hear your testimonies. We're going to be just fine. We're probably going to be out of electricity and Wi-Fi and all that stuff for a couple of days. We've done it before. We continue to pray. We continue to send out positive vibes into the universe. That this category 5, it keeps going back between 3 and 5. But I am actually in the Orlando, Central Florida area. So we're kind of inland. So we're not on the coast, but things are just crazy. The last couple hurricanes that we've seen, it's not even normal. So, a lot of nature, I just say karma is just coming back at us. So we have to just keep praying and giving thanks through the storms, whether the storm is physical, whether the storm is spiritual. So with that, we say, God bless you, and be blessed. Good night.
Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.